Alrighty, so this is your Surveyor 19-foot bunkhouse. Going to go ahead and show you how everything works. We're going to start on this side and then move around the coach. We're going to break it up into a couple of different sections on the video so everything's easy to find. First thing I'm going to tell you to do when you back it into the campsite like we showed in the demo video is we're going to level it. Now we are going to level off the tires and the axles. So you'll put the leveling blocks in that starter kit that you got directly beside the tires. Okay, and the way you know how many to pick is the bubbles that are in the kit are going to have numbers on them. The numbers are how many of those yellow leveling blocks you're off of square. So if it says 2, stack 2 right beside here, long enough for the tire to make its way up on. Pull the coach straight forwards, slide them over the fresh tire marks, and then back the truck and the trailer straight back, and that'll level everything up. Then we're going to bring down the stabilization jacks. Now we do have a crank handle for that I put back here. This is a 3/4 inch socket. Now what I'll often do is use a cordless drill to bring these down so they're just an inch or so above the ground, and then you can take this the rest of the way down by hand. Now once they make contact with the ground, you don't want to over torque them, so we say 1 full rotation. If you feel the ground compact underneath of them, you may need to break contact with the ground and go again until you feel that get nice and snug. So that's how you're going to do the leveling, or the stabilization. Once we've got the unit leveled and stabilized, I'm going to go ahead and get it plugged in. This is going to be the end that goes into the coach. You'll notice that one end looks different than the rest of them, and it's going to plug in right here. Now, a lot of people want to wire this up for their house. What I tell them to do is don't remember the numbers, just know where to look for the information. This is the sticker that the electrician will need to know how to wire up the house to be able to fully charge this coach. Now, you'll be able to use in the starter kit, it will come with a 30 to 15 amp adapter that you can plug into a normal household outlet. That being said, what you don't want to do is be trying to run the AC and stuff like that off of that plug, because you go from 30 amps down to 15 and you don't have the same amount of power, so you don't want to run stuff like the AC off of that half power. Down here is where you make your sewer connection. What you'll do is take the Rhino Flex sewer hose that's in the kit. It'll have 4 locking points. Simply line them up on the hose connection and turn and lock. Now on the inside, we'll see where it shows how full the holding tanks are. You want to wait till that tank gets 2/3 of a tank full so we have the additional water velocity to help flush that tank out. When it is time to dump, obviously with the sewer hose connected, we're going to pull the black handle first, let everything run out. That sewer hose is going to have a clear 90-degree elbow with it. Once everything has expelled out of the tank and the tank is fully empty with the valve open, we're going to utilize the black tank flush, which we'll see over here on this side real quick. All this is a garden hose connection right there. You'll hook a garden hose up to there, turn the water pressure on. Again, being sure that the tank is fully empty and the valve is open, and that'll allow the inside of the holding tank to be rinsed with clean water. Through that clear 90-degree elbow, once we see what looks like river rapids, we're good to go. If you forget this part, we do have a video on black tank flush on our YouTube as well. So once we got that river rapid looks, we'll shut the water pressure off again, waiting until we see all the liquid come out of the tank. And then with the tank fully drained, we'll go ahead and close that. And then we can pull the gray handle valve. This is just going to be soapy water, the stuff that goes down our sink drains or shower drains. So we're gonna let all that run out. Once that's cleaned out, we'll go ahead and close that. Then we can come back here, put the sewer hose directly into the bumper. You will need to line up all 4 points to the 4 corners on the sewer hose, and you'll see what I mean once you unpack that. I'll try to get one out of the parts department to show you later. Then you just take your cap and you're going to squeeze together and then press in snug once the sewer hose, and even if you want to utilize a separate garden hose for that black tank flush. Now you do have cable and satellite hookup right here. This is where you would plug in your cable TV from a campground. Follow the prompts on the TV as far as the auto programming. We do have a full video on how to do that, but we'll show you that. I'll show you that once I get inside. I've got Brandon helping me right now. Once I get inside, I'll get rid of him and I'll show you that individually. As far as the satellite setup, everybody goes, well, how do I do my satellite? Call whatever satellite provider you want, okay? Whichever one you're gonna book with, tell them what you're looking to do, and then at that point, they'll walk you through the steps as far as getting a satellite set up on this. It is important to note that the manufacturer does recommend torquing the lug nuts prior to each trip, also checking your tire pressure. Your tire pressure, as we already discussed, I sent you the picture, is 65 PSI. So that's where you want to make sure that's riding at. This will be the hot water heater right here. Rotate this latch so it's up and down. It'll be like that for travel, and you'll rotate it like that to get the door open. Down in the bottom left here, there's an on-off switch. I've already turned this on so we can show you that it does have hot water from the inside. But once you get to the campground, I always like to burp this a little bit, make sure there's water in that holding tank prior to turning that switch on, because I don't want to be running that on a dry tank. It'll cause damage to the hot water heater system. That being said, to hook up at a campground for water is right here. So we do want to have a water pressure regulator, and we discussed that on the phone previously. Don't care whether it's directly on the camper, on the hydrant, or somewhere in between. As long as it's in the setup, I'm happy. Now, if we're going to a campground that doesn't have water hookup, we would fill our freshwater tank right here. We have a full video on all the tools that we use for that, but it is a adapter that'll slip down in here. You can use a regular garden hose, but you kind of have to stand here and hold it. The adapter, it's like a couple of bucks and really makes life nice. Now, you only want to travel with that tank completely full or completely empty. So if we need to drain it, there's a little drain right here. And again, if you forget where it's at, it says freshwater drain. So I'll go ahead and cap that off. So once I go inside, I can go ahead and show you how all the cool stuff works. The reason you want it full or empty is if it's half full, it'll slosh whenever you're hitting the brakes, hitting the gas, or whenever you are doing turns even. So off the front here, we do have a power tongue jack that does have a manual backup slot right here. The manual backup crank looks like this. It will slip right into here so we can rotate this jack. I do recommend getting a socket for your cordless drill that you can operate this with that. That being said, low speed, high torque on the drill. You don't want high speed. If this jack isn't working, the first thing I do is I turn on the little power switch here to see if I've got a light that comes on. If I don't have a light, what I'll do is I'll chase this single wire down the frame, and you'll find a fuse located on there. So that'll tell us whether there's a blown fuse with it. But normally you just press down to make the trailer go down and up to make the trailer go up. There is a little foot pin right in here that you can extend out. You can see that we've already got it bumped out a few holes, but you can raise this up and extend it out to try to get yourself more travel out of the jack. As you saw on our hitch work video, I know you're getting your own, but the more you get this up in the air, the easier it is to hook and unhook. Single propane bottle is in here, and as you'll see inside later, the propane is completely full. To remove this, there's a wing nut right here, and we can pull this bottle off just by pressing out on that. It'll cause separation. Now, you do have an Interstate Marine grade battery right here. That being said, it does need to be topped off with water every 3 to 4 weeks. The thing I explain is if it gets hot out, we want to make sure we're checking it every 3 weeks. There is a battery disconnect right here as well. That is going to allow you to turn the battery off if it's in storage. If we are plugged in and charging, we want to leave it on. There's a slot right here to store your 7-way power cord. And on this side, we do have an LP gas quick connect hookup. So you can purchase an RV LP gas line that'll plug right into here, just kind of like an air hose. And you'll pull that back, connect it on, and then once it's connected, you can turn this gas valve on and allow gas to flow. Don't worry, as you can see, with no hose connected, there's no gas coming out of there. So if the kids play with it, no big deal. There is what they call a leash latch right here for dogs. It also works great for taking the kids' bicycles, running a quick chain through there, just to keep them a little bit safer in the campground. We do have the dog bowls located right inside the front storage compartment as well. And there is a solar panel hookup. Give you my quick opinion on solar panel. If you're going to buy a Furrion solar panel, you're going to be about $700. If you buy an Onan 2200 generator, you're going to be about $800 to $1,000, somewhere in there, depending on who you buy it from. The common thing I get is people will go, yes, but with that generator, I can't run the air conditioning. You can't run it with the solar panel either. So I'd rather have something that charges and powers my outlets, and it charges even in a cloudy day situation, or if I'm parked underneath a shade tree. All right, moving on back here. We do have a grab handle right here. To activate the grab handle, press straight up in the air, rotate over, and you can either put it up against the door. For travel, it does have a rubber coating right here to keep it from marring up the door. Some customers do travel with it like that because they don't want any chance of scuffing here. I do it this way. That way, if I forget to lock the handle, lock the deadbolt, and this thing comes open, it's going to help stop it from popping out going down the road. Now on this side, we do have a cable output. What this is going to do is allow me to hook up an outside television. This will only give me cable signal coming out this way. So you got to still plug in on the other side. 110 outlets that are GFI controlled, and I'll show you the GFI outlet on the inside of the coach. Up here is a stove vent, and this will just press and snap back into place, and then when it's time to open, you can just put your finger up. You'll see a little divot where you put your finger in to pop it out. This is the refrigerator. The thing I joke about with the refrigerator is the backside of this fridge has come a lot in common with a underside of a car hood anymore. There's a bunch of control panels, and unless you're a service technician, it isn't really going to matter. If that plugs in, that's pretty much the only thing we're going to tell you to check back here. After that, call a service technician if there is a problem. It's not a common worry with these coaches anymore, but that does exist. We do have the low point, or we do have the black tank flush here. Again, we talked about that already. And you do have hot and cold lines that are the low point. I don't know in California if you're going to do too much winterizing, but if you do, this will be the first step. We already have videos on our YouTube page about how to winterize your camper. So take a look at those and you'll see when they come into play. But for the most part, that's the just for the winterization. Right here, we're going to have the furnace ventilation point. The thing to keep in mind with the furnace is if we are running the furnace on LP gas, this is going to, or which is the only way it runs. We're running the furnace, we are going to get heat coming out of here. This is a little bit lower down because we have to mount the furnace on the floor. So you want to make sure that the kids keep their hands away from that when we are running the furnace. So just keep that in mind. Spare tires mounted on the back side of the unit. That being said, we do want to check this tire pressure on a regular basis too while we're checking the rest. And we do have the Furrion backup camera that you can install there. It's already got the mounting plate, it's already got the wiring in there, and we have a video on how to install that. Should be 4 screws and 1 wire to get it out. You do have a ladder to get up to the roof. The ladder is rated at 250 pounds. The roof is walkable. What I always tell customers with walking on the roof, be comfortable going up there, okay? And be comfortable where you step. Before you move your entire body weight on there, give it a slight push, make sure that you've got a good footing, and then continue to move. So just be careful getting up and down the roof. You do have extended rain gutters on all 4 points of the coach. So that being said, you do want to make sure those gutters stay clean. Again, whether you use a house ladder to get up there and clean them, or whether you get up on the roof and clean it yourself, that's a personal preference. So that's the quick little run through the outside of this coach. I'll take it inside. Brandon, thank you so much for helping me, and we'll have this video up. So Brandon has volunteered to continue to help, which is awesome. First thing we're going to talk about is the porch light. There's an amber porch light just outside this unit on this wall that'll turn on and off based off of that switch. There's an awning LED light, which we're not going to see right now because we are parked tight to the other unit. I'm going to get this one pulled out and show you this, but this awning light switch will control the awning lights, and obviously we have an awning extend and an awning retract. We also have our interior light switch, which as you can see is going to light up all our main interior lights, which have individual on-off switches that you can press up. Now it doesn't turn any of the slide switches on, it doesn't turn the under cabinet light on here, and it doesn't turn the light switch on for the stove. Those are separate, along with the ones over top of the bed. So just keep that in mind. If you go, hey, the lights over my bed aren't working, they're on their own switches. Now we do have a slide room here. You're going to press and hold down on the out position of the slide to put the slide out, or vice versa in. What I tell my customers is with this slide system, I want to continue to hold the switch for 5 counts after I've put the slide out. Okay, the reason being is there's gearing on this side, there's gearing on the other side. They have 2 independent motors that uses a computer brain to track how fast it's going out with what voltage and amperage. That being said, what I want to make sure is if it makes any correction after it gets quote unquote all the way out, if it's going to make a last minute adjustment, that usually happens within a 3 count. So I hold it to 5 just for a little bit extra. So I'm going to press and hold there. You'll hear the motors whining as it goes out. I don't know if my microphone will pick them up, but it's going to move. That being said, there are a slide maintenance video already. The slide you have is called the Schwintek slide. So on our slide maintenance video, pay attention. It will be the bedroom slide on the 5th wheel that we're demoing. It's the same as that high-end 5th wheel. So we had it stop moving, 5 count, and we're good to go. So I'm going to continue on down around this way. Next thing I'll talk about is it does have a fire extinguisher. It's already mounted in there. You do have a stereo here as well. I'll go turn this down so it doesn't blare past the stereo or the microphone. You have zone 1 and it shows that it's on, but if you press and hold, it'll shut zone 1 off. Zone 1 is my inside speakers. Zone 2 is my outdoor speakers. Thinks is on the camera, but is actually around my neck. So, if I press the button quickly on the power button, it'll throw a mute on, so I can mute the system down quickly. You also have a Bluetooth feature that you can actually pair your Bluetooth to. You have a USB hookup that if you still have and we have at our house, a iPod with a ton of music on there that we've seemed to lost the CDs to. You can plug that right into there and then even just drop that in there and let the cable run into there. You also have an HDMI input as well. That being said, you can also go through all the different sources, including an auxiliary headphone jack there. To power it down, you're going to press and hold, and then the screen will go darker, and that's off. We have a 110 outlet located right here above the sink. We have our sink grate cover right here. That'll give us more countertop space, and it'll actually support a fair amount of weight if you actually center it correctly. It'll support a fair amount of weight. I don't want to put a cast iron pan on there, but to put a cutting board up there, I don't think I'd be afraid of. Your sink drains actually screw in, righty-tighty, lefty-loosey, and unscrew. And then we do got water in the coach, so we'll show you more. The more important thing is not how the kitchen faucet operates, but how we utilize the bathroom toilet. Now, because I know your husband, and I believe you said your father-in-law are mechanical, you do want to take this and have it photocopied and then laminated. It is every model number and serial number to every coach, or every component inside this coach, which is fantastic. You also have a wireless remote control for your stereo, and then one for the TV that we'll get to later. You also have a toilet paper mounting system right here. So you have the toilet paper roll and some screws and bracketry. That being said, use the camper a couple of times before you decide where to put it, because wherever you put it the first time is not going to be where you want it later. I promise you that much. You also have the remaining owner's manuals down here. Now, one thing you can do is actually jump on the App Store and go to Forest River Owner's Manual. Just type that into any of the app stores, and that'll give you a downloadable owner's manual that will be more product specific than the old-fashioned, like, this is every single Forest River travel trailer ever made. The other thing I always recommend is joining Frog. We get no direct financial benefit from it. The benefit that we get as sales staff members is the Forest River Owners Group. We will often hear reps talk about interviewing with the owners group, and that's who they're referring to when they're making product changes and decisions. So a lot of the stuff that makes the trailers better comes from that owners group, which is fantastic. All your drawers are ball bearing rollers, so they're going to come out for full extension, even this little guy. So we have full access to everything. If you're wondering why that drawer is shorter, we have to be able to fit the sink and the plumbing. You do have the microwave down here, and this is the microwave convection oven. There is an owner's manual inside of that packet that will discuss how to utilize the the microwave convection oven for all its glory. Now, for your stovetop here, you have 2 knobs referring to each individual burner. I do recommend using a stick lighter. However, if you light these things all day long, every day, you will get used to not having hair on your finger anyway. So, and we're gonna burp all the air out. This is one of those things that we wanna do every time we go camping, and we mention it in one of our other videos, in our main setup video. And the reason being is you can see how much air is in there. So if we're trying to utilize the gas hot water heater, the furnace, any of that stuff, there we finally got flame out of there. We're trying to utilize any of that stuff. You are going to need that air out to do so. So that burner lights. And that burner lights. So they both hold flame. Now the rule of thumb is when you shut them down, once these are cool enough to touch, this is cool enough to close. It's got a warning label on it, but I'll still bring it up. Don't cook on the glass. The glass is supposed to fold up out of the way. Brandon laughs too, and I've talked to you enough times. You're intelligent enough to know that. But we get a phone call at least once a week, I think, in the service department talking about the stovetop glass cracked when they were cooking on it. Now your refrigerator, about as simple as you can get. They've gone down to an on-off switch, which I love. So press and hold to shut it off. When the light goes off, the fridge is powered down. Press once quickly to turn it back on. It's a fully automatic fridge, so it's going to look for 110 volt first. If it cannot find it, as if you're not plugged in, it will automatically switch over to LP gas. That being said, follow all local laws, regulations, and federal codes when transporting down the highway. Most states do require that you shut the LP gas off during transit. That being said, please be legal while you do things. You do have the single LED light down there, glass right there, and storage for your fruits and vegetables right there. Inside of here, we have located your toilet chemicals. We'll get more into the toilet chemicals once we get to the bathroom. We put them in there so if something happens during transit, it's already in the fridge. We don't have to worry about it leaking somewhere in the coach. Here, Brandon, let's try to figure out how to do this without being too goofy. All right, you got a good angle on it?
Yeah.
All right, so there's a power button right here on the left, right on the left, whatever. It's going to show me in the off position. Press it again, and it's going to give me fan speed selector. I got a complete glare on it, Brandon, so tell me when I'm there.
You're on high.
All right, and down arrow again,
Low.
we'll put it on low. And then down arrow again, we'll put it on auto, and you can go with the up arrow as well. That's going to be talking about the speed that we want the fan at. Am I on high now, Brandon?
No, you're still on auto. High.
All right, so that will allow me to run the roof-mounted air conditioning unit without the air conditioning. So it's just the cycling fan at that point. Now, if I hit the power button again, it's going to give me a little slow flick down in the corner here. That's going to signify that I've turned the AC on. That's when the compressor is going to kick on. I don't know if the microphone picked that up, but it'll kick on the compressor and it'll start to blow out air conditioning. That being said, the 2 most common questions we get, Brandon, she cannot feel the cold air through the AC vents, okay? Like the camera's not that good. It's an iPhone, but not that great. All right, so if we lean on that, you can picture if the kid jumps off the top bunk and they press on the up and the down arrow, did I get it to go over to 13 degrees? All right, that's Celsius. So a lot of people will go, my thermostat's reading 13 to 26 degrees, what's wrong?
You're on 14. There you go.
There we go. Now if we press it one more time, we're gonna see that we got the little furnace lines. I say it looks more like a tire burning out than anything else, but that's for the furnace. And that's gonna blow out right here. Now the common question we get here is, why is my AC and my furnace running at the same time? Remember when we selected the fan speed as high? If I jump back over here and select it to auto and back over to the furnace, it's going to shut that roof mounted AC unit off. That being said, with that roof mounted unit, I do only want to run it on auto or high. The reason being is if you run it on low, right temperature, right humidity, not enough air will flow over the cooling fins of the AC and can potentially ice it up. So rather than give you the schematics of, well, at this temperature and this humidity do this and blah, 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 just don't run it on low. If you leave it on auto, once it gets temperature, it shuts down the entire AC. If you leave it on high, once it gets temperature, it'll shut down the compressor, but then leave the cycling fan running to keep air moving in this unit. There is a filter located right in here that you will see once you get it, that you'll have two little tabs right here that you'll hit with a flathead screwdriver. Pop this down and it's a fully washable filter. Next thing to mention, this AC is not a miracle worker, okay? It does about 10 degrees per hour. So the common question we'll get around here is they go, we got to our campsite at 11 o'clock and it was 110 degrees inside my camper and we ran our AC for 2 hours and it's only 90. What's wrong with my AC? The answer is nothing. So try to get to the campsite early. Try to get the AC working ahead of time. Try to make sure that we are in shade cover. Now this is a smaller unit, so it will do much better than a 35-foot travel trailer with a single AC. But still, it's not a miracle worker, so just keep that in mind. A lot of people get frustrated, but then when we explain that it only does 10 degrees per hour, if they know that ahead of time, it solves a lot of our problems. Now, we already talked about the furnace down here. I've shut this guy off, but it's going to continue to run. What it's doing is trying to cool itself down, making sure there's no problems there. Now we're going to talk about a couple other things out here before we jump to the bathroom. GFI outlets right here. This works like a standard GFI outlet anywhere else in your houses. So you'll have a test and a reset button. As long as you got a green light, you're good. If you got a red light, you're bad. So just come over here and reset it, and you'll be good to go. This is the carbon monoxide LP gas leak detector. What that's going to do is going to make sure that we don't have any carbon monoxide or LP gas. Here's the other things that'll set it off. Low battery voltage by design. It's directly wired to the battery, so if there's a problem with the battery not giving it enough power to function, it's going to sound to let you know that. You will know when it sounds. It's very loud and obnoxious. The other thing that'll set it off is cheap dry dog food that has corn in it that releases ammonia. That being said, anything in an aerosol can that uses propane to get it out will also set it off. So just keep that in mind. If it does go off, there's a test and reset button right down here. You do want to treat it like an actual emergency. Get out of the camper, leave the door open, etc. Follow the prompts that are located right here. You do have storage on this side and this side, and then you do have the dinette that makes down into a bed. Best way to do it, rock this table back and forth, move our legs, and then for sleeping, I just put the legs right down there. I take one sofa cushion, or one dinette cushion, tip it up, come onto one side, lift up in the air, set it down, and that's the way that we would put it for sleeping. Yeah, Tracy's on the tractor out there, so it's gonna get a little loud. All right. Now I put the two smaller cushions at one side, the two bigger cushions at the other. Reason being is now the seam lines, there's not as many in my back. That's the reason I do it that way. To set this back up for eating the next morning for breakfast, what I'll do, actually put this backwards. This guy goes over here. Don't make fun of me, Brandon. That's not nice. So I'll take this table up and I'm going to set it right here on the edge of the cushion. Yeah, bring the stand behind me. That way you get a good shot of this. Table legs go in first, and this is the way that we're going to want to travel going up and down the road. Grab the table, and if you use your two pointer fingers and your thumb, you'll have good control, and then I can use my ring and pinky to locate table legs. Brandon, you're not allowed to make fun of the way I say words, okay? Like button. Button's a really weird word for me to say. But anyway. Drop our sofa cushion, our dinette cushions back down. You're good to go. Now, with the exception of the blind close to the stovetop, we're going to have these blinds here. The kids get little curtains to pull across. And you're going to have these sew and bobbin looking guys down in the bottom corner here. They will stretch out over time, the strings that they're attached to. All you need to do is take a number 2 square tip screwdriver, loosen the screw by hand, turn and rotate to tighten whichever side is sagging, and that'll fix the problem. But you can see that that's going to block out a good bit of the sunlight. USB 110 outlets located right here. We have an emergency exit window here. Press in, lift up, press straight out, grab red tab, make conscious decision whether you want to dive out head first or slide out back first. If you leave your husband, just get the kids and leave your husband, you probably make it the door on your own. do have cup holders here. Now, one thing I will tell you, they've got these little holes. They're left over from the molding process. I like to either put some hot glue there or some duct tape, just so if I have a drink that's sweating, it doesn't drip down into whatever I have in this storage area here. Mattress is going to be a standard mattress, okay? And we do have panels that will lift up to give me access all the way in the front if I want it. And I do have storage right here. I have LED lights, as Brandon's already turned one on. And for the beds, cabinet doors do open up. You do need to unbuckle the TV. Pull this out of the way for that. Now, for the TV, let's get this hinged out of the way a little bit. Close these up. All right, so there's a cable hookup here, and then right by the door, closer to the door, there's this little on-off switch, okay? Pressing that up with the red light on utilizes the TV antenna booster. We are just pulling off the digital TV antenna for this demo. That being said, we'll pick up full digital television channels here. So you can actually scroll through and we will get a good bit, even in Farmtown, USA. Pick up a good amount of channels right there. Okay, to get the TV to do a channel scan, you gotta hit menu, come over to channel, select whether we're going through the TV antenna or through campground cable. If we're going through cable, we're gonna shut that booster off because it'll scramble the channels. And then we'll hit auto scan. Are you sure you wanna scan? Yes. Now, you do have on the back here audio video connections and HDMI inputs if you need them. And then for transit, this is just going to tuck back here and then utilize the locking strap, which is mounted back onto the bracket itself, not onto the wall, thankfully. Secure that down. People go, how tight do I need it? Tight enough that it's not going to slam. We're not trying to keep it from totally moving. We just don't want it to slam around. People will tighten it all the way down and then they crack the screen. So obviously we want to stay away from that. The last thing I'm going to talk about out here is the key code. Email a picture of that key code to yourself because that key code will get you into this camper if you forget the keys. You take that key code to a reputable RV dealership and they will actually have the ability to cut off of that code. Who was that page? Oh, me. Okay, well, I'm going to jump up and grab that real quick and then I'll finish up the demo for the bathroom and get that spliced in as well. So, Brandon, thank you so much for helping me and we'll get you back to the demo here shortly. All right, so Brandon has left me at this point, so I'm completely solo, but I'm going to still try to get this done. So the first thing I want to talk about is the toilet. Now again, brand new toilet, my hand being in here, don't worry about it, okay? That being said, there is a line, you can see a clear defined line the whole way around this bowl, okay? And you have a foot pedal right down here. If I press on that pedal and hold it, that'll allow this water to fill. What I want to do, and forgive me, I'm trying to shoot this forward-facing camera so it's not completely awkward, but it probably will be. Blame Brandon. But you can see that it's going to fill the toilet. Now what I want to do is I want to fill it to that line 4 times. So when you guys get this out in Colorado, go ahead, I know my Cali girl's going to Colorado, fill it to that point 4 times. On the 4th time, add whatever toilet chemicals you want. Everybody's got a different brand preference. Here's what I say, pick a credible brand. I like AquaChem. It's what's in the kit that you all bought already. Plus, it's available at Walmart nationwide. Makes it pretty easy to get a hold of. So the reason we want the initial fill in there is I want a baseline of water in that tank and the toilet chemicals already working at all times. That way, if I get to the campsite and I need to use the restroom or along the side of the road, there's already water in there, so if stuff goes down into the tank, it's not sticking to a dry tank. So that's awesome there. Now, if I go number 1 in the toilet, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna flush down what happened in there, and I'm gonna hold that foot pedal till I fill it back up to the line once. If I go number 2, flush down what was in there, fill it up to the line twice. That being said, when you empty the sewage tank, repeat that process of filling it to the line 4 times, adding your toilet chemicals. Reason for that is it's going to, again, put that base layer down there, but if it's going back to the house and it's going to sit in the backyard for 2-3 weeks, if you have a dry tank, any particles that may be stuck to the side that the black tank flush did not get out, with no water in that tank, it's going to turn to rock really quick. But if you have moisture in there, as it heats up throughout the day, that moisture is going to rise up, hit the top of the tank, and then as it cools down, it's going to come down the side of the tank. It's called condensation or the biodome effect. Extra points if you know the movie. So, that being said, I am going to flip the camera around while I talk about the tank monitoring system here, and we'll go over all that. This is the tank monitoring system right here. So I have a water pump switch here. The only time I need to use that is if I'm trying to draw water from the fresh tank and pressurize the system. If I'm at a campsite that has water hookup, perfectly fine, I can just use that water hookup on the side. But this is specifically for drawing water from the holding tank and allows me to turn on a faucet and it act like normal. This switch over here is the water heater switch. This is only for the gas side of the hot water heater. So if I'm at a campsite during normal operations, I'm just going to use that electric element, that switch that we turned on the outside, that black one in the bottom left-hand section of the hot water heater. But if I'm taking a shower, I want to flip this on. That way it gives me 2 heating sources at the same time, will give me almost 18 gallons of fresh water coming out of that tank. Speaking of tanks, we do have tank monitoring right here. We have gray at the top, black, and again, gray is soap water going down sinks and showers, black is sewage, anything going down that toilet. Fresh water, we can see this is showing full right now, and the reason for that is I've got the tank full so I can do your demo. Battery, it's going to show me full level up there because again, we're going through and doing the demo. Now you have another slot down here that says fault. If this water heater tries to light on gas and cannot, it's going to send it into fault mode. To get it out of fault mode, what I'm going to tell you to do, the way I do it, is I shut that off, go out to the stove, light the stove off, make sure that there's gas in the lines and there's no air in there, and then simply turn it back on. If we were just cooking and we know the propane tank is full, I might just shut it off and turn it back on, wait 90 seconds to 2 minutes and see if it goes away on its own. But I typically will go ahead and do a full hard reset. Now, I'll shut this switch back off. That's only been on for a few seconds, and I don't know whether the steam is showing up on there, but I have tested the electric element, and that is hot water coming out of that tap right now. That being said, medicine cabinet, I keep my sink drain in there. That way if the sink gets turned on for some reason during transit, I go ahead and I've got a spot to shut it off. Shower head. Inside this shower head, there will be a water pressure regulator most of the time. You can just unscrew it. I'm sorry, it's not a regulator, it's a reducer. So a lot of people will unscrew that, pull out, it doesn't void any warranties, doesn't cause any damage, does give you more water pressure. And a lot of customers will unscrew the shower head and feed it back down through here. That way they can get rid of this clip system altogether. Hot and cold water right off of there, that's going to operate like normal, like a normal shower. And then coat rack right in there, storage down there. Now, what I recommend with that coat rack is actually taking I'll show you what I'm talking about. So you can imagine that your shirt hangers hanging on here can bounce around while traveling down the road. Now this one's got a pretty good design where they made it close to the top. That way it doesn't have as much travel. If you still have problems with it, you can cut a foam pool noodle thin, so it's only about that tall, and will slip down over top of here to help hold the weight of those clothes hangers on. The other thing that I'll use foam pool noodles for is I'll cut it for the distance the slide extends out from the side of the trailer, so I know how far that goes out. I'll show you what I'm talking about outside. And real quick, the starter kit that you purchased is there. I sent you the text message of the extra little bonus feature I put in there for you. No, it's nothing weird, Eric, if you're watching this video. Eric's the boss. But again, we do have the videos in here. The TV's working perfect. So, remote control going back inside of there. Sink right there. Sink drain, I'm going to have upside down in there. and then I'll shut all the lights down and everything. But that is pretty much the completed unit inside. Talk about the converter real quick. You have 110 power coming in here, 12 volt on this side. So what happens is the 110 volt power from the campsite comes in here, then is converted down to 12 volt, and that's what this little fan is doing, and you'll hear that thing running occasionally. The more it's being used, the more it'll run, and all that does is cools off the temperature, because we are taking 110 volt, dropping it to 12, it will create a little bit of heat. And like we had in the video, if you blow a fuse, it'll illuminate directly beside the fuse that blew. So I would just have a multi-pack of fuses. I was able to do that on camera, that's awesome. I would have a multi-pack of fuses there. Breakers are going to work just like breakers in the house. If they are tripped, they're going to be kind of like this halfway position. All you have to do is shut them off, turn them back on, and they'll be good to go. And you just press on the top center to get that open. Aside from that, I think I got everything inside of here. So let me go show you what I'm talking about on the outside, as far as the way that the that's a sliding window. That's an emergency exit window. In the sense the latches are magnetic, that if for some reason that door's open, you can just push it open. USB outlets, lights, nice and bright. USB outlet, lights, nice and bright. I'll show you this with this one since it's easy to access. If you go to push on these triggers and they're not working for some reason, take them off, just tap them out. They might have a little sawdust in them. Put them back on the light fixture. Rotate to the left first until that light seats flush onto the mount, and then rotate to the right, lock it in, operates like normal then. So that's how that works. And I'll show you what I'm talking about as far as the pull noodle with the slide goes. So what I do is I'll cut the foam pull noodle so it is as long as this slide is deep. So if I'm coming into a campsite and I had a power pole right here and I was wondering if the camper was going to fit, I'll cut that pull noodle so it's that long, so I can just use that as a quick gauge with the slide in and the unit's still hooked to the truck. I'll put the noodle right there. If it doesn't extend out past this, and touch, I'm good to go. The other thing we'll use it for is, my wife is a beautiful, intelligent woman. She will stand behind a 22-foot long truck, behind a 32-foot long trailer, 15 feet behind that, and do this for directions. If I give her the pull noodle, she will point with the whole noodle. Don't know what the difference is. I give her no additional instruction. She just naturally does it. That's so much easier for the driver to see. The way we always teach people here is when the camper is going backwards, we're going to give directions based off the back of the camper and where the spotter on the ground wants the back of the camper to go. So we're going to point that way, okay? When we're going forwards, we're going to point which way we want the nose to go. It's the easiest thing for the driver to interpret from that driver's seat. And then if we are going straight back, we're going to go straight up in the air. If we need to come to a slow, controlled stop, we put our arms straight down. The reason we do it that way, and that does mean stop to the driver in a slow, controlled manner. This is the universal panic stop signal. But the reason I want that arm straight up in the air is because it allows the driver to know that the spotter is in constant communication with them. If the spotter drops their arm to the side, that could mean anything from, hey, I got a family that needs to cross with bicycles, to, hey, I want to get a better look at what's going on. Why don't we hold right here until I get a look? But, so that should be everything. I'll do a bunch of photos here in a little bit. I'll send them to you on the cloud storage. I'll go ahead and get this freshwater tank drained, but I'll get them sent over to you so you know everything's good to go. But for now, that should be everything, and we'll hopefully have it on a trailer shortly. Talk to you soon.